It has been said that thoughts are things. In fact, they are incredibly powerful things when they are fused with a clear and definite purpose, unwavering persistence, and a burning desire to see them transformed into wealth or other material objects. Just over 30 years before this book was first written, a man named Edwin C. Barnes discovered the profound truth that men and women really can think and grow rich. This realization didn't strike him like a bolt of lightning. It unfolded gradually, beginning with a simple, yet all-consuming desire to become a business associate of the great inventor, Thomas A. Edison. One of the most critical aspects of Barnes' desire was its specificity. He didn't just want to work for Edison. He was determined to work with him. As we follow the story of how he translated this powerful desire into reality, you will gain a deeper understanding of the 13 principles that lead to lasting success. When this impulse of thought first flashed into his mind, Barnes was in no position to act on it. He faced two significant obstacles. He didn't personally know Mr. Edison, and he lacked the funds for a train ticket to Orange, New Jersey. For most people, these difficulties would have been enough to extinguish the flame of their ambition. But Barnes' desire was no ordinary wish. It was a conviction. He was so determined to find a way that he decided to travel by freight train, stowing away as blind baggage rather than accepting defeat. He presented himself at Mr. Edison's laboratory and boldly announced that he had come to go into business with the famous inventor. Years later, when recounting their first meeting, Mr. Edison made a powerful observation. "He stood there before me," Edison recalled, "looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come for. I had learned from years of experience that when a man truly desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel to get it, he is sure to win. I gave him the opportunity he asked for because I saw he had made up his mind to stand by until he succeeded." Subsequent events proved that no mistake was made. What young Barnes actually said during that meeting was far less important than what he thought. His physical appearance was a clear disadvantage, but it was the unshakable purpose in his mind that truly counted. If the full significance of this single point could be conveyed to every person, the rest of this journey might not even be necessary. Barnes did not secure his partnership in that first interview. What he did get was a chance to work in the Edison offices for a nominal wage. The work itself was unimportant to Edison, but it was profoundly important to Barnes. It gave him an opportunity to showcase his character, his work ethic, and his determination where his intended partner could see it. Months passed. On the surface, nothing seemed to happen to bring him closer to his goal. But something crucial was happening within Barnes' mind. He was constantly intensifying his desire to become the business associate of Edison. As psychologists have correctly stated, when one is truly ready for a thing, it puts in its appearance. Barnes was ready. More than that, he was determined to remain ready until he achieved what he was seeking. He never said to himself, "Well, what's the use? I'll just look for a sales job somewhere else." Instead, his internal commitment was, "I came here to go into business with Edison, and I will accomplish it if it takes the rest of my life." He truly meant it. Imagine how different our stories would be if we all adopted a definite purpose and stood by it until it became an all-consuming obsession. This bulldog determination, this persistence in holding on to a single desire, was destined to overcome all opposition and bring him the opportunity he sought. When that opportunity finally arrived, it appeared in a different form and from an unexpected direction. This is one of the subtle tricks of opportunity. It often has a sly habit of slipping in through the back door, sometimes disguised as misfortune or temporary defeat. Perhaps this is why so many people fail to recognize it. Mr. Edison had just perfected a new office device, then known as the Edison dictating machine. His salesmen were not enthusiastic about it. They didn't believe it could be sold without tremendous effort. But Barnes saw his chance. It had crept in quietly, hidden in a strange-looking machine that interested no one but the inventor and himself. Barnes knew he could sell it. He told this to Edison and was promptly given his chance. And he did sell the machine so successfully, in fact, that Edison gave him a contract to distribute and market it across the entire nation. Out of that business association grew the famous slogan, "Made by Edison and installed by Barnes." This alliance lasted for more than 30 years. From it, Barnes became rich in money. But he accomplished something infinitely greater. He proved that anyone can truly think and grow rich. He had literally thought himself into a partnership with the greatest inventor of his age. He began with nothing except the capacity to know what he wanted and the determination to stand by that desire until it was realized. 3 feet from gold now, let us examine a different situation. A story that illustrates one of the most common causes of failure, the habit of quitting when overtaken by temporary defeat. During the gold rush era, a man named R.U. Darby had an uncle who was swept up by gold fever and went west to dig his fortune. He staked a claim and went to work with a pick and shovel. After weeks of hard labor, he was rewarded by the discovery of shining ore. He needed machinery to bring the ore to the surface, so he quietly covered the mine and returned home to Maryland. He told his relatives and a few neighbors of the strike, and they pooled their money to buy the necessary equipment. The uncle and a young Darby returned to work the mine. The first car of ore they shipped to a smelter proved they had one of the richest mines in Colorado. A few more shipments would clear their debts, and then the massive profits would begin. Down went the drills, and up went their hopes. Then, suddenly, something happened. The vein of gold ore vanished. They had reached the end of the rainbow, but the pot of gold was gone. They drilled on, desperately trying to find the vein again, but to no avail. Finally, they decided to quit. They sold their machinery to a junk man for a few $100s and took the train back home. Now, this was no ordinary junk man. He was wise enough to call in a mining engineer to examine the mine. The engineer advised him that the original owners had failed because they were unfamiliar with fault lines. His calculations showed that the vein of gold would be found just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. And that is exactly where it was found. The junk man extracted millions of dollars in ore from that mine because he had the wisdom to seek expert counsel before giving up. Long afterward, Mr. Darby recouped his loss many times over when he made his own discovery. That desire can be transmuted into gold. This realization came after he went into the business of selling life insurance. Remembering that he had lost a huge fortune because he stopped 3 feet from gold, Darby profited from the experience. He made a simple promise to himself. I stopped 3 feet from gold, but I will never stop because people say no when I ask them to buy insurance. Mr. Darby went on to become one of a small group of elite salesmen who sold more than $1 million in life insurance annually. He owed his incredible persistence, his stickability, to the lesson he learned from his quitability in the gold mining business. Before success comes into any person's life, they are sure to meet with temporary defeat and perhaps some failure. When this happens, the easiest and most logical thing to do is to quit. And that is what the majority of people do. Yet hundreds of the most successful men this country has ever known have said that their greatest success came just one step beyond the point at which defeat had overtaken them. Failure is a trickster. It takes great delight in tripping you when success is almost within your grasp. A 50-cent lesson in persistence. Shortly after, Mr. Darby learned his lesson from the University of Hard Knocks. He witnessed an event that proved to him that no does not necessarily mean no. One afternoon, he was helping his uncle in an old-fashioned mill. The uncle was a large farm owner, and on his land lived a number of sharecropper families. Quietly, the door opened, and the small daughter of a tenant walked in. The uncle looked up and barked, "What do you want?" Meekly, the child replied, "My mammy says to send her 50 cents. "I'll not do it," the uncle retorted. "Now you run on home." "Yes, sir," the child replied. But she did not move. The uncle went back to his work. When he looked up again and saw her still standing there, he yelled, "I told you to go on home. Now go, or I'll take a switch to you." The little girl again said, "Yes, sir," but she did not budge an inch. The uncle dropped a sack of grain, picked up a barrel stave, and started toward the child with a look of fury on his face. Darby held his breath, certain he was about to witness something terrible. When the uncle reached the child, she took one quick step forward, looked directly up into his eyes, and screamed at the top of her voice, "My mammy's got to have that 50 cents. The uncle stopped. He stared at her for a moment, then slowly laid the barrel stave on the floor. He reached into his pocket, took out $50, and gave it to her. The child took the money and backed away slowly, her eyes never leaving the man she had just conquered. After she left, the uncle sat on a box and stared out the window for more than 10 minutes, pondering the profound whipping he had just received. Mr. Darby was also thinking. It was the first time he had ever seen a child so completely master an adult. What strange power did she use? The answer to that question is found in the principles described in this work. It is an irresistible power that is available to anyone who understands how to use it. And Mr. Darby later acknowledged that his own success as a life insurance salesman was due, in no small part, to the lesson he learned from that child. "Every time a prospect tried to turn me away," he said, "I saw that child standing in the old mill, her big eyes glaring in defiance, and I said to myself, I've got to make this sale." The majority of all sales I have made were made after people had first said nitrogen monoxide. You are the master of your fate, when the poet William Ernest Henley wrote the prophetic lines. "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." He should have informed us that we are the masters of our fate because we have been given the profound power to control our thoughts. He should have told us that our brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts we hold in our minds by means we may not fully understand. These mental magnets attract to us the forces, the people, and the circumstances of life that harmonize with the nature of our dominant thoughts. This power does not discriminate. It will work to translate thoughts of poverty into reality just as quickly as it will influence us to act upon thoughts of riches. Before we can accumulate wealth in abundance, we must magnetize our minds with an intense desire for it. We must become success conscious until the desire for achievement drives use to create definite plans for acquiring it. Little by little, the truth has unfolded. The principles in this book hold the secret to mastery over our own destiny. We are now ready to examine the first of these principles. As you listen, maintain a spirit of open-mindedness. These truths were gathered from the life experiences of more than 500 men who started in poverty, with little education, and accumulated great wealth. These principles worked for them, and you can put them to work for your own enduring benefit. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Matthew 6:33. May the Lord bless you and guide you in every good work.